morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the Outsourcing Edge. Today we have the very lovely Zola with us. Thank you so much for joining us, Zola.
You're welcome, Emily. Nice to be here.
It's such a pleasure. So we've known each other a while now. How long's it been?
It's been 3 years. We've been together since 2022, so it's 3 years now.
That's a long old time. It feels like only yesterday, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It really feels like yesterday. It's just in the new year actually that I've been thinking, how long have I been with you, and how many clients have I worked on? It just feels like yesterday. Everything just feels like yesterday.
It's amazing. So I just want to go back in time before we met, so to find out, because obviously I know you, but our lovely listeners and viewers don't. What were
Yeah.
you doing? Tell us about Zola before remote recruitment.
Before remote recruitment, I was a social media manager and just a creative, right? I've always been in the marketing space. I actually started back in 2015. But obviously, the setup of it was quite different. It was more office work than anything else. Until Emily came in and all of that changed. And most of the time I worked for South African brands, right? For South African advertising agencies. And I remember my first international experience, which was remote, was back in 2021.
Gosh.
But because of how it was and the management of it all, I thought it wasn't for me. Then I went back into working for South African companies and workspace office until actually I met you. And I've never looked back. I've been working with you, not going back to the office. I'm strictly in the UK and I'm happy. And I know for sure it's for me now.
So, what are the major differences? It's the obvious differences, but what's the major differences between working remotely and working in an office?
Um, Personally, there's a freedom, like there's a sense of freedom in terms of time. Um, as someone who always likes looking good, I like my work matching how I look all the time, right? Representation matters to me, which means that that's a lot of time for me. If I had to work in the office, it means I have to wake up way earlier, work on myself, make sure I look presentable, prepare for the day, and then there's traffic, which is another big time. By the time you get to the office, your day is already messed up. Someone on the road pissed you off, you're not the best, you're not your best, and a lot of things are just going out of the window, right? So it takes you more time to actually prepare and get back into the game. Or actually working remote for me means by the moment I wake up, obviously there's less time for me to prepare myself. There's no need for me to go sit in the traffic, meaning that those little minutes or few hours I actually get to use to prepare my work ahead of time, right? Meaning by the time I start with
Yeah.
my work, I'm ready, I'm good to go. I'm already organized on behalf of my clients, right? Because every client needs that one person who's organized, right? We always get different clients. Sometimes you get a client that's all over the place, but lives getting stuff done. So by the time I start working, I love being straight to the point. I'm organized. I know exactly where to start. So for me, that's the major difference that I see from working in office and working from home. And obviously, the other part of it is the finances part that everyone knows.
Thank you for that. I think there is a massive freedom of only occasionally having to look presentable, and it's only from the waist up. You can be in your tackies and your shorts, and it's all fine as long as from the waist up looks good. There's a
That's
massive freedom. So,
that is
what would you say were the big freedoms? Sorry, the big differences
yeah.
between South African clients and UK clients? Because there are differences. What would you
There are
say if you? And I know there's been some tough bits there. What are your learnings? What are the differences between the UK and South Africa?
For me, the difference, okay, the cultural difference are not too far off compared to American clients and South African clients, right? For me, there was a big culture shift when I started working for American people. Their culture is completely different to South African culture. And then obviously now that I'm in the UK, there are a bit of similarities in terms of culture, right? There's that sense of respect, that there's that also sense of urgency, but there's a balance as well in everything, right? There's a good balance between work and life. And also in terms of mental health as well, there's that good balance. So for me personally, I find to be more similarities between the UK and South African, but in terms of difference, I would say that the UK clients are more relaxed, right? More direct with stuff. They really know what they want, and they're more relaxed in the process of it. The biggest difference is someone over monitoring you every second to make sure, is this done, are you doing it, how far are you, right? With my UK clients, I always get clients that are really direct from the word go. Okay, Zola, this is what I'm looking for. I don't know how to get there. I won't lie. You're the expert. I'll trust your judgment. Do what you need to do. Come show me. Let's sit down. Let's review. I'll share my, my points as, is this something I envisioned or not? And once that's done, Zola, you're good to go. I'll trust you. I just want to see results at the end, right? So for me, there is that sort of difference with UK clients. They know what they want, they direct, they're straightforward, and they actually give you the room to do what you need to do. You just have to come at the end and show them that, hey, so this is what I'm doing. Am I on the right track? Do you love what you're seeing? And they're straightforward, like, oh my God, this is brilliant. This is exactly what was on my mind, but I couldn't articulate it properly. You're good to go. So I think for me, that is the biggest difference with UK and South African clients.
Thank you for that. Now, it's something that you've nailed. You just said that being remote and having never met your clients, it's
Yeah.
quite hard sometimes because you've never met them. When you're in an office, you learn lots of things organically, don't you? But
Yeah.
you don't have that. What
Yes.
advice would you give to somebody who was starting a remote job?
The biggest advice I would give to someone is use every chance you get to learn something about your client, right? Not every meeting has to be a formal setting, right? It's the same nerves, I would call, that you would feel to meet this client and have this meeting with the client. 90% of the time the client feels like that, right? Remember that both of you guys don't know each other. This person has to have really good trust and big trust, to trust someone with their brand, someone they've never met, someone they've never been in a physical space with, and someone they know zero information about, right? So I would say that it's this, the same way you feel about the client is most probably the same way that the client feels about you. In every meeting, just be yourself, relax, and give that platform where you're able to talk about work and spare like 2 3 minutes just for like a good laugh. Ask questions. How's your day? How's the weather? You look so good. How was your weekend, right? It's times like that that a client actually gets to relax and starts sharing a lot about themselves. And especially in my field of work, I really need to know the people in and out, right? Any work that I put online has to be a good representation of that person, right? Even when their families and friends sees the work online, they need to think that they did that because it sounds so much like this person, right? The personality is like this person. So use the time to actually show up your character as well, right? I think gone are the days where you have to be so corporate and so serious and yes sir, no sir, and that's it. We live more in a world where there's more culture. Culture is in the forward. Relationships is now ahead of everything. So relationship matters. Smile, talk, engage, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If there's anything I do, I get every ounce of information from my client, right? Never be too afraid to ask. There's no dumb question, whether it's work related, whether it's personal, ask as much as you can. Trust me, clients are always willing to give out information so that you do the best at your job. I think for me, this is something for someone who would start working remote should do. Just focus on building that relationship, get to know that client, and make sure that client also gets to know a bit of you, right? Because there has to be mutual sense of trust from both sides.
Do you know, Zola, that's so helpful and you're so right. You have to build that relationship because the world is made up of relationships, isn't it? And
Yeah,
if you don't have that, it's really
yeah,
important. Now,
yes.
how do you, because you interview beautifully, and if I could put you forward for every job I would because you interview beautifully. What would be
Yeah.
your top interview your advice for people doing online interviews? Because they can be nerve-wracking.
They can. This is a trick that I always do, right? I always treat every interview like a meeting or a call, right? A personal call with an acquaintance and an interview are completely different. An interview always think I have to be right, I have to be right, I have to think ahead. Don't breathe even loud, don't breathe wrong. It's just right. While a phone call with someone is more relaxed, you're more of yourself, you smile more, you're more confident, you're actually more to listen, you're able to listen and actually answer right. I treat all of my interviews like meetings. And it's funny, they always turn out to be like that. Everyone is laughing at the call, everyone is asking questions, everyone is relating to something. Just be relatable, just be yourself. I think it's one of a very strong characteristic that every human being has. We're all relatable, but we just always struggle to have that because we always want to present ourselves in such a way that we're perfect and not actually human. So I think that would be the best one. Just be a breath of fresh air, be yourself, let them see your character. As much
I
as they're
love
hiring
that.
you for your skills, they also need to see your character, because that is what will make you actually work longer with them. That is what will build that trust, because they can relate to you, human, right? We can trust this girl with anything. I mean, with all of my clients, it always starts like a short-term thing, and then it's a long-term thing. By the time I actually end, they're like, Zola, we feel like you have so much access to my everything, my emails, my social media. It's so personal. You see everything, right? So I guess for me, it's always that.
That's wonderful. And something that you do really well is you've always done your research, and
Yeah,
it breaks my heart when we tell all our candidates to do their research, but they don't.
yeah,
What do you do in terms of research and preparation? You're obviously yourself, but where do you look? What do you do? What's the
yeah.
prep you do?
The
Please tell us a
first
bit
thing
more.
the first thing I go through their website, every single tab, right? Every website tells a story, whether the website is good or bad, whether it needs a bit of work or not. Look through their social media as well, right? Don't just look for all the work stuff, but also look for personal touches, right? What do they love doing? Every person posts family right there and there, holidays there and there, right? Look at stuff that they enjoy doing. It will tell you lots about themselves, right? And there's always also articles. Google the person. There might be an article or two that is linked to that person, depending on what field that person is in, right? Those are things that I love doing. I love researching about the company and the person privately, right? I'll go through all the company profiles, website, and everything, and then as well I go through the person's personal stuff, right? Is he married? Does he love family? Does he work on relationships? Is he a busy person? If he's a busy person, be nice but be straightforward. Don't go around about the bush to actually present your work and sell yourself, right? So I think preparation is actually the number one thing before you do and showing up that meeting and being yourself. You have to be prepared so that everything goes smoothly. And it actually shows when you prepare, it actually shows in your interview. It also shows in your confidence as well in the interview.
That's fantastic advice. And it really does show the more prepared you are, the less nervous you are, and the more you shine. So,
Yeah,
yeah, great advice. So, what would you say are the top three things that you've learnt
yeah.
since you've been working remotely with international clients?
Time management, number one. I've learned time management. Number two, upskilling. I think this is something I'm always growing. I'm always growing in something, right? I'm always learning something new. I'm now at a point where my mind is so open to learning something new. In this industry, you always learn something new, a new software, a new tool. As soon as you get a new client, they're using a completely different system. Their goal is different, the objectives is different. So number two is learning. I'm always learning something new every day, and also not just for my work, but for me as well, right? You don't want to become obsolete. You always want to move with time, especially in this industry. The third thing, I'm not sure. Maybe my confidence in my work, my confidence in myself, and just building more relationships. I think if there's anything now looking back at all my remote work, um, my relationships with people is much better. as much as people say that working in the office makes you more open to people and working remote is more like isolated and stuff, I beg to differ. My skills to talking to people, my skills in creating that in open environment, whether it's virtual, has actually improved, right? How I relate with people, even physically, has improved because I have no choice but to make it work remote, right? So I think those are my top three.
That's fantastic. Now, something that you mentioned, your first thing about upskilling, and obviously in South Africa there's a huge unemployment thing. I mean, I get messages, what should I do? What should I do? What would your advice in terms of upskilling be to the people that are currently looking for jobs?
Always upskill, right? If you're someone who cannot afford to upskill, maybe go to college or university, there's always short courses. There's always platforms that offer free courses, and you can get your certificate, right? I'm actually upskilling currently. I'm doing two things, and there's another course that is waiting for me, right? Although I have been doing social media for 10 years now, I'm actually doing another diploma in social media management because I want to upskill in that. Social media changes, the landscape changes every day. There's always a new platform, new trends that are coming up every day. So if there's anything in that I'm currently upskilling in that. And then afterwards I have a project management course that is also waiting for me because I'm currently in customer success management, and I also want to improve my skills in that, right? You never know enough. You never know enough. There's a lot of free platforms and places that actually offer free courses. Always upskill. You're never too old to learn. You never know enough to learn. Even if you have a university degree or masters or honors, learn, do a short course in something, improve your skills in something. And also I think it also shows your clients that are interviewing you that you're someone who's always eager to learn something. You're always learning something, meaning that you bring a lot of skills to the table.
Thank you. You're so right because I'm even me. I'm old in the tooth. Got the company. I
Yeah.
try and do 2 days a month just to learn and to keep growing because the world's changing so fast at the moment with AI.
And I
It's
must
so fast.
And I must say one thing, I can actually agree to you saying that because remote recruitment is always improving. You're always changing slogans, logos are changing, softwares are changing. I see you introducing videos. You're into TikTok now. You're doing
Yes.
podcasts. You are always evolving, always improving, involving AI also in your stuff. So I can say that it's evidence that I do see that remote recruitment as
Thank
well,
you.
you as well, are always evolving and learning new things.
You
You always
have
learn
to.
new
You
stuff on software, right? And yet you're not even the person being hired by these companies.
but you have to. You have to practice what
Yeah,
you preach. And
yeah,
the world is changing so
agree,
fast that if you
agree.
don't keep up, you're going to be left behind. And I think there's a
Absolutely.
massive problem that's coming for the guys that are not upskilling and keeping
That's
pace. I'm
that's
scared for them. What are they going
that,
to do? There's very
that's
little options. And if you want those options, you have to keep relevant, even if you don't have a job to keep
mhm.
relevant. But if you have a job, still keep relevant. Don't just go, yay, I've got a job. You've got to
That's
keep, you
true.
have to
That's
keep the job because
yeah,
actually keeping a job getting the job is only one part of the story, isn't it? The
that's
next
true.
part is actually keeping the job and delivering. Now,
That's
with
true.
that, what would you say would be your top tips of keeping a job?
Always do your work, right? It's working remote, working remote. I must say it does have a bit of that gray area where no, because no one monitors you, right? If you're given certain number of tasks, you can always get away and say, "Oh, I've worked so much hours," but you really didn't, right? But at the end of the day, it does show when it comes to delivering the work, and the quality of the work will tell a story, will tell that you actually prepared, you actually put in a lot of hours in this, and you actually did work, right? So, in you keeping your job and working remote, because no one monitors you, doesn't mean that you get to sip cocktails at home and not do anything and shop last minute with stuff you got on Google, right? Your work will show. At the end of the day, your work will show. As much as there is that freedom where you get to travel in between, right? You're able to catch a flight late at night, get into a different place in the morning and start working, right? You can be in different places. That's a good thing, but always work, always work. Whatever happens in the background, that's good. I think that's one of the perks of working from remote. You can be in an island somewhere, but work. it always shows, right? Put in the hours, put in the work. That's how you get clients. Not how much you can speak, not how much you can smile, but the quality
Yeah.
of work as well. At the end of the day, if someone pays for it, they need to be able to see and say, this is what I'm paying for. I love this person. Emily, let's keep this person, right? The quality at the end of the day speaks on your behalf. So I think that's number one tip I'll always give to people.
Oh, Zola, you have given such great advice, and I'm sure everyone's going to be thrilled to hear this. Thank you so much. But what I do need to know is what's next for Zola? You're upskilling, you've got some fantastic job at the moment. What's next?
Growing, Emily. The world is so big. There's so many big opportunities. And one thing about me, I don't just do what I do because I studied for it or for the money. I love waking up to do what I do, right? And I think one of the things that I'm really privileged for is that obviously I do have other businesses happening in the background. Because I love my job, Emily's stuck with me for a very long time, right? I really love what I do. So it means I get to work with people more. I get to put more smiles on people. I get to present people online in a very good way, right? So I guess maybe that's that. Without obviously saying too much and digressing from what we're talking about, but keeping more clients happy, putting more smiles on clients. I think that's the future. That's how the future looks like for me.
That's so exciting. Zola, thank you so much for sharing those insights. That's all for us today on the Outsourcing Edge. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Emily.